The Miami Dolphins take on the Seattle Seahawks this Sunday. I'm Connor from the Dolphins Dive, and I'm here to break it all down.
Miami Dolphins #1.
I'm going to start with the Miami Dolphins offense versus the Seahawks defense. Now, obviously, the Dolphins offense just took a massive hit, losing starting quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. So how this offense is going to look under Skylar Thompson, we saw in his rookie year, and he was not very good.
This is bad. This is very bad.
But in his defense, it was his rookie year. He's got over a year under his belt, more of reps, doing walkthroughs, understanding the offense. So he showed us in year one, may be different than what we see this Sunday. Now, it could be the exact same. We don't truly know. I'm going to break down the numbers. And once again, take these numbers with a grain of salt. It's after 2 weeks, so these are inflated in weird ways. For example, like the Dolphins last week, the Bills took their foot off the gas, so our defensive numbers might look a little better. But nonetheless, it just gives a good showing of the past 2 weeks for both of these teams. Dolphins offense is 29th in points per game, which is astonishing considering how highly regarded our offense is. Seahawks defense is 14th in points allowed. Dolphins are first in passing yards per game. Seahawks are third in passing yards allowed. So a very good pass defense for the Seahawks, who is now led by Mike McDonald, who held his own last year as a Ravens defensive coordinator when facing the Dolphins. Dolphins are 20th in rushing yards per game, and Seahawks are 22nd in rushing yards allowed. So not the best rush defense through 2 weeks for the Seahawks. Some notes for the Seattle Seahawks: they are very banged up. They have some very good players dinged up, whether it's Uchenna Nwosu, Leonard Williams. It's hard to tell who's going to actually play, but just something to keep in mind that's going to impact the outcome of this game. And then, as I mentioned up top, Mike McDonald, now their head coach, one of the most highly regarded defensive minds in all of football. We saw it last year. They've already put up 2 very good defensive performances, and I expect that to continue. And they have a very good defensive front, once again, led by Leonard Williams, formerly of the Giants and the Jets. Some other players to watch for the Seahawks defense: Boye Mafe, a young guy who's blossoming into a very good player; Jerron Reed, a very good interior defensive lineman; Byron Murphy, who they got in the first round; Uchenna Nwosu, who I mentioned, he was injured. He might not even play, but if he does play, he's one of their better players in defense. Former Miami Dolphin, our former friend, Jerome Baker. Not a game changer by any means, but he's a solid player, and it's just funny to see a Dolphin on another team. He was a long-tenured Miami Dolphin. Reek Woolen, a very solid and athletic corner. Devin Witherspoon, more of the same as Reek Woolen. And then Julian Love, an underrated safety who's very good. Now, the key for the Miami Dolphins, I've been clamoring about this basically in every single video I've made since the defeat against the Buffalo Bills, and that is to run the damn ball.
We will be perfect.
Take a note from Matt LaFleur's playbook when he had his backup quarterback. I think Malik Willis completed 8 passes. I want to see the same dang game plan. The Seahawks aren't the best against stopping the run through 2 weeks. Try to expose that and just pound the rock. Look to run the ball 40 freaking times.
Over and over and over and over and over.
And hopefully Raheem Mostert's up. You got Mostert, Achane, Wright, Jeff Wilson, just all 4 of them. I want to see everything. Fullback dives. I do not care. I want the ball ran down their throats. That is our only chance to have success, in my opinion. And especially as this modern day NFL is being highlighted all over national TV.
That should be outlawed.
2 high safeties, you don't like that? Yeah.
I would put a rule in place that brings those safeties up closer to the line of scrimmage. I would outlaw that.
But all teams play a lot of too high coverage, and the best way to defeat that is to effectively run the ball. I'm hoping to see that for the Miami Dolphins this Sunday. I think that's the best way to try and beat the Seahawks on the road with your backup quarterback. It's a tough task against a very good defensive mind and some solid players on that side of the ball, but that is what the Dolphins need to do to win the game. Now on to the defense. Dolphins defense versus Seahawks offense. This is a very interesting matchup. Seahawks offense has been very good thus far, but they've also haven't faced the best teams. They've beaten the Broncos and the Patriots, so nothing to clamor about. The Dolphins defense hasn't looked, they looked very good against the Jaguars for a half. Against the Bills, they didn't start off poorly, but then just it started piling on. The offense kind of hung them out to dry. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup to see when this defense for the Dolphins, if it ever clicks, when it's going to happen. It could be against the Seahawks. I don't think they're too far off. They've got a lot of talent there. It just hasn't clicked yet, but the Seahawks are 9th in points per game on offense. Dolphins are 23rd in points allowed. Seahawks are 6th in passing yards per game. Dolphins are 5th in passing yards allowed. Seahawks are 23rd in rushing yards per game. Dolphins are 15th in rushing yards allowed. Once again, take these stats with a grain of salt. Kenneth Walker's been in and out for the Seahawks. That could be an impact. The Dolphins are 5th in passing yards allowed, but the Bills didn't even need to pass the ball against us. So just keep those numbers with a grain of salt. They'll be more accurate towards midseason as you get a larger sample size of these teams. Notes for the Seahawks: Kenneth Walker is questionable. I don't think he played last week. He's dealing with an oblique injury. They're being pretty cautious with him. but they still have a lot of talent on that side of the ball. So some players to watch for the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, DK Metcalf. He's built like me, very chiseled. Geno Smith, who's a very underrated quarterback. I know he was the backup, no one believed, and then he came out and had a good year, but he's a very solid quarterback in this NFL. He's off to a very good start thus far. Tyler Lockett, who's just an OG at this point. It's so funny because I remember being in high school and he was like a rookie, and now he's like an old man, and I'm only 22, so that's just crazy. But Tyler Lockett's still a very good football player. Jackson Smith and Jigba, as an Ohio State fan, he's a dog. And then Noah Fant, who's a very athletic, big tight end who can make you pay if you leave him unguarded. So some quality players for the Seahawks, and a big part about that, they're similar to the Dolphins in the ways like, you want to take away Tyreek, you want to take away DK, well, guess what? We have these weapons. So they can take away, or they can counter you by targeting their other skillful players. Keys for the defense: if Kenneth plays, contain him in the running game, because Kenneth Walker can take a game over. He's in a very explosive and big back, and they want to pound the rock if possible. Contain the big plays, make them work, kind of similar to how I mentioned with the too high shell. Don't give up the easy score. Make them work. Make them have 10 to 15 play drives. If they're going to score, make them earn it. And then last but not least, get pressure. With how this scheme's been so far, the pressure's been close or it's non-existent, I feel. It just hasn't been consistent. We saw it the last two defensive plays against the Jags, but aside from that, I feel like we just haven't been getting consistent pressure. Sometimes I'm yelling at the clouds when I see us blitz, and it gets confusing because of how this defense is structured. There's 3 down linemen with an outside backer. So sometimes the 3 down linemen go and then a linebacker comes and that outside backer doesn't. And it looks like we're blitzing 5 or 6 and we're only blitzing 4. I'm like, why do we get no pressure? But our base pass rush has been very bad. So I'm hoping to see improvement there, whether that's Jalen Phillips getting continuously more healthy or just players stepping up, Chop Robinson getting more of a role. I just want to see more consistent pressure from this Dolphins pass rush. So that's the keys to the game, in my opinion. This is an uphill battle for the Dolphins. Last time I checked, I believe the Seahawks were favored by 4.5 points. Low-key, as they should be. Dolphins with a backup quarterback traveling to Seattle. It's not an easy game by any means. I am 24-13, lifetime picking the Dolphins, so not bad. I'm above 500. Very easily. So hopefully I can predict this wrong, because I am predicting the Dolphins to lose to the Seattle Seahawks 27-17. Once again, I'm an optimist, so honestly I can see a way where the Dolphins win if they play good defense and run the ball. But until I see it, and until I see this offense have success with Skylar Thompson, I'm gonna just predict that to be the case. Thankfully, I do think the Seahawks are the best team of the 4 games we're gonna have without Tua. As after the Seahawks, I believe it's the Titans, Patriots, and Colts. So there's some winnable games there, but one game at a time. Focus on the Seahawks. I think they have the leg up on us to win 27-17. Comment your score prediction down below. I appreciate you guys for watching. Like and subscribe to help the channel grow. And until next time, fins up.